didn't see her live earlier. She got a new computer, and her husband tried to surprise her with setting up some stuff, and it's not set up, but she's trying to log in right now to get on. So she'll join us in a moment. Um, but going back, the last 2 weeks have been absolutely phenomenal. We started with Master Chief Sharara, um, and she kind of kicked things off with this leadership within this new thing that we're trying. And then and then we moved on to Admiral Velez last week. It was a great interview, and really gave us some outstanding insight. So, but with that being said, what I want to remind everybody of is this is not a recruiting page. This is not specifically for NCs or CRF or anybody in the recruiting force. This is for leadership in general, and taking those that have been in leadership or can provide some insight to leadership and kind of give us their feedback, their thought process, and be able to share that information with you guys. So I have some exciting news first. I was told during, I think, Master Sharar's interview that the audio wasn't the gooderest. So what I did was I went and I bought this thing, and so now I'm official. I'm like official. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And if you look right up in, I can't get the backwards stuff. I would not be good as with those OSs they have to write backwards. But anyways, over in the top corner, this corner right there, right behind my hand, you'll see Ellis1 Elefante designed that for us, the leadership within. So big shout out to him. Thank you so much. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But we have more graphics coming. He also did some other great stuff for us. We got some more graphics coming. We got some big news, big news for who our guest is next week. And then, I did put something on the page today, on my personal page, trying to elicit some leaders that we probably need to hear from, not just, as I said, from the Navy, but really from anywhere. So kind of from anywhere, but also Navy related. What I'm going to do is introduce a good friend of mine, an outstanding gentleman by the name of Rob Santiago, the Commissioner for Veterans Services for the City of Boston, the longest title in the history of mankind. There he is, right there in red, Rob Santiago. Welcome to the Leadership Within, my friend. I appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Oh, no, most definitely. Thank you for having me. And you actually did get it correct, Master Chief, is Commissioner of Veteran Services for the great city of Boston.
The great city of Boston, or just the city? Because it is a great city.
The great city of Boston. That's my official title.
There we go. I like it. The great city of Boston. Although if it was mine, I would say the gooder city of Boston, as you well know. But so here we are, my friend. So, I know your story. You and I have talked a lot over the, well, I guess it's been a little bit over a year since we first met. So I know your story. I know your history, but our viewers do not. So if you could just give us a quick rundown of, your time in the military. You're a New York City guy though, right?
Yeah, New York City guy.
Okay. So give us a little brief of who you are and kind of what brought you to being the Commissioner of Veteran Services for the great city of Boston.
Well, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I joined the Navy straight out of high school back in, I'm going to age myself here, back in 1988. Then from there, after boot camp, I went to YNA school. My first duty station was the USS Guam. And then from there, I went to Shape, Belgium. And then from Shape, Belgium, went to the other side of the world on board the USS O'Brien in Yokosuka, Japan. So from Yokosuka, Japan, I came back to the East Coast and was stationed at Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico. During my time in Puerto Rico, I was a TAD to Panama. I was part of a team closing down Rodman Naval Station down there. And then when I came back, I re-enlisted and stayed in Puerto Rico for another tour. I was on the commander of the United States Naval Forces Southern Command. And then from there, went back out to sea on the USS George Washington, which led me here to Boston, where I ended up a crew member on the USS Constitution. The USS Constitution, I hope everybody knows, is called Old Ironsides. She's old. She's also the oldest commissioned warship afloat in the world. However, there is one ship that is older than the USS Constitution, and I have a challenge for anybody out there who knows this. What is the name of that ship, and where is she located? And if you could answer those two questions, the first person that answers it will get 2 coins, 2 challenge coins. One from the mayor of Boston, and the second one from me as a Commissioner of Veteran Services. So the first one to answer those 2 questions correctly will get 2 challenge coins.
So the question is, just so we can clarify, Constitution, oldest warship afloat.
Yes.
But you want to know the oldest warship.
That is correct. The key word there is afloat. The USS Constitution does go out to sea, and she is a pierside. But the ship that I'm mentioning is permanently dry docked.
Interesting. So, okay, that's outstanding. I'm going to bring DC1 in. Crisis averted. You're in. Hello, DC1. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you could make it.
Hi, it's so great to be here. Sorry about that technical difficulties.
It's good. I told him all about your husband trying to surprise you with setting everything up. And,
I don't know how any of that stuff works.
So, hey, you're here. That's all that matters. And we appreciate him going out there and making it happen. So I do have a question for everybody in video land. Can you see me, or is all that stuff in the way? I'm good. There's nothing in the way of my eyes. Okay. Maybe that's just what I see. All right. So, so Rob just introduced himself. Now you guys know each other because DC1 Scott was the MC at the flag raising at Boston City Hall during an event we had there.
Yes. How you doing, DC1? Nice to see you.
Hi, it's so good to see you, Mr. Santiago.
Call me Rob.
So Rob, I'm looking at you. You're obviously the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs or Services. You have a lot of contact with veterans and things out there. What is that flag behind you? Is that a shadow box or?
Oh, you mean this one?
No, you know what that is, my friend. We're talking about the shadow box.
Oh, this big shadow box here.
Yes.
Well, it was given to me by Commander Pat Hart. Everybody out there knows who Commander Pat Hart is at his ceremony, at his change of command ceremony. It was a pleasant surprise from Pat Hart and also from you, Master Chief. Thank you very much. So this flag was flown on board USS Constitution as well. And if you could kind of see in there, it has a certificate stating that it was flown on board USS Constitution. It also has a Commander Hart's challenge coin and the patch for NRD New England. And let me tell you, I tell you, it's the centerpiece of my backdrop here because it's very special to me and it means a lot to me. So, Pat Hart, if you're out there listening, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. And Master Chief, again, thank you so much because I know you're probably one of the people that came up with this idea. So, thanks.
So we got to give no worries. That's what we do. I will tell a funny story about this. So we are at the top of Faneuil Hall, and Rob has this. That thing probably weighs what, 30 pounds?
Yeah.
It's not light. So Rob has this thing. It's a bear hug. He won't let go of it. And I was like, Rob, we have some people here specifically to help, take some of these gifts back and we'll get it back to you. And he's like, no, I'll just carry it. So I think we talked the next day and you were saddened that you had not accepted the help. Let's just put it that way.
Saddened is a nice way of putting it, Master Chief. Let me just tell you, everybody out there, when your chief tells you something, you listen.
There you go.
Let me tell you, my office is a couple of long blocks away from Faneuil Hall, and I had issues just holding on to it on stage. That should have been the first hint. But then to walk it all the way to those blocks, and people were looking at me all crazy and weird. Look at this guy. But I finally made it, and it was my workout for the week.
There you go. No more 3 times a week, raise the heart rate. You don't do that anymore, Rob?
Exactly.
All right. So, outstanding. We do have an answer. The first answer is from Daniel McElroy, my ATFP anti-terrorism force protection guy. Dan McElroy, HMS Victory, Portsmouth Dockyard in England.
Ooh.
And then GM3 Coronado, I think she's out on, I can't remember the ship, but she's a gunner's mate, and they just shot some 30 mics, I believe. She said the Trincomalee in England, and that was my guess, Rob, was the Trincomalee. I think that's how you say it. If not, I just completely ruined it. But you have advised me that is actually not the correct answer. The Dan McElroy has it right. The Zumwalt, yes, GM3. The HMS Victory is the correct answer, but it's not afloat.
That's correct. It's not afloat.
Right. And when the Constitution was in the dockyard, or in the docks, in dry docks, then the Trincomalee was the oldest warship afloat for a while. So trickery on your part, Rob. You tricked me and the GM3 And the Army guy, Dan McElroy, gets it right.
He gets it right.
He gets it right.
That's victory out of Portsmouth, England.
Outstanding. So, you can just you don't even have to send it now. You just saved yourself postage. Drop by headquarters one day and give it to them.
Okay, great, fantastic. We'll love to.
Easy day. So yes, GM3 also. They were just, was it 30 millimeter GM3? If you could answer in the comments that you guys just shot. Thank you, NC1 Franquez, saying we look sharp. Mainly, she's talking to me and Rob. I think we look.
I think so too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So give us a real quick rundown there, DC1, of what your husband did to get the delay. And trying to help.
Yeah. Okay. So I noticed that earlier today he ran to the door and he came back with this huge box, and I was thinking, what is that, right? And it's some kind of cube. It's cube something for gaming, and he says that he got it so that way I can have this awesome high speed laptop, so I can do creative work. So he actually got himself a gift so he can give me a gift. And he set it all up for me. And when I came to log into this, our podcast at this time, I was like, where's my stuff? I don't know how some of that stuff works. So that's how I was trying to set up all my original gear but I love you. Thank you.
Look, you got to buy a gift to get a gift. That's how it works. That's just how it goes. So
I didn't get that memo.
You don't get gifts?
No, I don't get it back. Exactly. No.
All right, Rob. So let's get back to this real quick. So, I think one of the most interesting things about our story is how we met. So can you talk about that a little bit and just kind of reminisce?
Yeah, sure. And I remember the date too. It was March 5th of last year of 2019. And you actually made the first contact. You cold called my office on March 5th, and you stated that you wanted to have a potential partnership with the office, and that you also wanted to connect more with the community. And immediately when I got that message, I called you, and we talked for quite a long time on that phone. And I told you about my being the fact that I'm a retired Navy myself, and I wanted at the time I was a deputy commissioner, but I still wanted to have a connection with the military community, in particular the Navy, because that's the branch that I grew up in as an adult. And we hit it off, and we talked for quite a bit. And what I loved about what you said is that you wanted to connect more with the community. And that's one thing, if I could touch on that just for 1 quick minute, it's something that I've noticed a lot, at least during my Navy career, is that the sailors and myself as well, that we're caught up in that silo, if you will, of our command. And the only people we hang out with are our shipmates, which is, there's absolutely positively nothing wrong. But one thing that I learned later on in life is that having access to your community, being a part and being active in your community makes you a stronger leader, makes you a stronger sailor as well. So one thing that I would stress is to reach out, to find out what community activities there are where anybody could take a part in. I know NRD New England, you guys have been fantastic in being a part of the Boston community. I know Chief G, along with a whole bunch of sailors from NRD, participate in our Operation Thank a Vet. We're not doing that now, obviously, because of the pandemic crisis that we're in. But Operation Thank a Vet is one of our signature programs where we don't wait for the veterans to come to us. We go out to the veterans. We reach out to the veterans. We knock on their doors. We give them one of the Mayor's Challenge coins, and we tell them and thank them for their service. And a lot of times we've seen early on that these veterans were never thanked for their service, and they would actually get emotional. And then they would invite the volunteers into their home and share a cup of coffee, share a story. Master Chief, you were fantastic that one time when we ran into that one sailor from Vietnam, and we helped him and his wife with the groceries into their house, and we actually had a cup of coffee in there too. So reaching out to our veterans and being a part of the community really made me proud to see all these sailors in uniform and doing it. So if you're out there, and please reach out to your local leaders and be a part of the community. And every city and town here in the state of Boston has a veteran services officer. Me, by virtue of my position as commissioner, I'm the VSO for the city of Boston. You can reach out to wherever your community is and reach out to that VSO and see what you could do for the veterans in your community.
So I do want to go back real quick in the story. I didn't know you were going to bring up when we did Operation Thank a Vet. We had the news with us.
Yes.
and that was from one of our other chiefs. His neighbor was a newsman, and so he came out with us. And the first door we knocked on, nobody answered. And as we were leaving, the nice lady came up and she's like, "What are you doing at my house?" And we were like, and you kind of explained, and then she goes, "Here's my husband. We brought their groceries in. They made us coffee. I think we had like tea and crumpets or something. But it was probably one of the best days of my naval career was being able to reconnect, and that just happened to be a Navy veteran, us out there doing Operation Thank event. It was a phenomenal event, and what you do every during when you can. It was like monthly, right?
Yeah, it's monthly from March through November. We pick a Saturday, normally the third Saturday of the month, and we go to a different neighborhood in the city of Boston. The city of Boston has 22 different communities, and then from there we have a great, phenomenal group of volunteers. A lot of them I call frequent flyers because they come out every month, and then they just go out and disperse into the neighborhoods, and not only to thank the veterans for the service, but also to provide them with a packet of benefits and information that they and their families have also earned, not just from the city, but the state and federally as well.
Right. And that same day, we got yelled at by a South Bostoner in true South Boston style. We can't use those words here, but she told us in no uncertain terms to get off of her property quick like and in a hurry.
And if you remember, Master Chief, it was the house immediately following the Navy sailor.
It was drastic differences between the two houses.
But we still thanked her for her service. So
we did as we scurried off of her property. So the great thing is that what you're talking about is kind of liking your community and giving back to it, just like you should like, subscribe, and share all of this content so we can get the word out. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to put something on we're on the Facebooks and the YouTube. So put something in there. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If Rob can't answer it, then I'll try, or DC1, just to kind of give you the feedback. But so, one of the key things is I picked up the phone because we were looking for a way to kind of get into our community. I think I had been at NRD New England for about 6 months at that point of time, if that. And we did not have a strong community presence. So all I did was cold call, because what I learned very early in my life is you get nothing that you don't work for or ask for. If you just sit there in silence and don't ask for something, you're never going to get it. Have you seen that in your lifetime, whether it's in the Navy or in the civilian sector?
Oh, most definitely. It's actually I see it more in the civilian sector than I did when I was active duty. But you're exactly right. There's and I'll use again Boston as an example. There's a lot of people I've noticed in my time as both deputy commissioner and now as commissioner of Veteran Services that don't know the benefits and services that we have for our veterans, for our elderly, for our disabled, for pretty much any constituency that we have in the city. And because one, obviously they don't know, but two, they're not asking those questions, or they're not reaching out to their local leaders, to their state representatives or the city councilors. But I have seen it more in the civilian sector, which is why people are trying to model our Operation Thank Event to their departments as well, so they could have some sort of outreach to let the people know of what's available out there. But once again, you hit it on the head, Master Chief. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. And I remember telling you, we talked yesterday a little bit, and I remember telling you yesterday there were a lot of times when I was in service, and more so now as commissioner, that if I'm told no, ask again until they tell me no again. Then you ask a third time. Each time you phrase it a little bit differently, hopefully to get the outcome that you want. But you keep asking until you finally get it, or you get some form of what you're asking for. But again, if you don't ask for it, or if you don't ask those questions, then you don't get it.
So if you don't ask, you'll never get it, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you quit after the first time, you're never going to get it. So
never gonna get it.
Wow. Do you want to break into song?
Oh no.
Okay. Because if you watched our test the other day, I think I have the golden pipes.
Yes, you do.
All right. So when your transition, now you did everything here in Boston. You were on the USS Constitution, and then you transitioned into the civilian sector. What kind of skill sets? What kind of helped you transition the most from Navy life into that civilian life and helped you become the success that you are in the city of Boston?
Well, one thing that we all and sometimes we don't even realize it are the stressors that we have as service members. And what I mean by that, what I mean about these stressors is moving from one place to another, going from one type of command to another. I mean, all of my platforms that I have been on, they have all been different. You know, I went from a amphibious ship to a Spoons class destroyer to a carrier to then the oldest commissioned warship afloat in the world. So being able to handle those stresses, being able to adapt and overcome, really helped me out when I came into the civilian sector. Now, coming into the civilian sector has its own huge set of challenges. You know, one thing that I like to say to point out is that we in the military services, you know, we focus on cultivating our leaders. While a lot of times in the civilian sector, their leaders are more focused on organizational performance. You know, in the military, you know, there are different levels of courses that, you know, as you move up in rank, you know, you have mentors, but they're more focused on metrics in the private sector. And I'm not going to include working for the municipality on this, only because of the fact that working in the city of Boston or working in the municipality is sort of similar as being in the military, because you have your head, you have the mayor of the city, who's basically the commanding officer, you know, the chief of staff acts as the XO, and then you have your different departments. And we're all regulated under the umbrella of City Hall policies, but we also have our own regulations that pertain to our departments as well. So when I'm talking about private sector, I'm talking about those private companies or even some nonprofit organizations out there that are like that. But being able to know how to handle those stressors really made it a whole lot easier for me. And this is my story. I know there's a lot of service members out there where it's a whole lot more difficult for them because of what they've experienced while they've been in service. But for me, being that I was also stationed on the Constitution, already had one foot in the civilian life, really helped me out.
That's good. So you networked before you got out?
Yes. Again, going back to that community involvement, I was able to go out in the community. I got to know my state representative very well and my city council very well as well. I got involved in the Boston Veterans Advisory Council. It's something that kind of went away before I came on board as deputy, and it's something that I was actually working to bring back up. And that's what got my footing into the veterans community here in the city of Boston, was being a liaison on the Boston Veterans Advisory Council. And I represented my district, District 6, which is Jamaica Plain, and also the LGBTQ community.
Nice. So I you know, Master Chief Sharara just put on here. I don't think you've ever met her, but she just put on here how closely aligned the civilian sector is kind of to the military and the VA. So you got your civilian sector, but just kind of the way the structure is and the alignment is very similar.
Yeah, she did a great job. That was a very hard act to follow. I'm going to tell you the first two that we got here. So,
and I think I got her name right. I think I said Sharara this time instead of Charara. But so she should give me a pat on the back if I got her name right. But so again, as we're going through here, please, if you have any comments or questions, put them in there. Like, subscribe, share, bring your friends to this event. This is how we get stronger, faster, better. Is providing you guys good content. And so if you had one skill set, I think you kind of mentioned it with the resiliency of the moving, the resiliency of that mental toughness, if you will, of going from command to command that kind of helped you when you got out. Is that probably the most important skill set you had?
Along with that, I would have to say the attention to detail that I learned in service, and also being very flexible. I think the attention to detail, you know, DC1, if you don't mind me bringing up the PMS cards into this conversation, you know, when you're doing PMS on a ship, you have to follow that card to the T. You have to have the right tools so that to get the job done. And that's one of the things that I learned in the military, and that I noticed in my first position when I, as a civilian, that there wasn't much of in the office that I was working at the time. And also the fact of organization as well. You know, the mission wasn't clear, or the vision wasn't clear, so the organization wasn't clear as to how they were going to move forward and what they were going to do within their system, because it was not a very good system. And I found myself having to do work on instructions on how to do things, work on policy as well. And it helped out for a while, but people were pushing back quite a bit. They say, oh, because of the fact that I was prior military and I knew what I was doing and I knew where we should have gone. Some people were offended by that.
Well, but you got it done.
Got it done. Got it done.
All right. So, DC1, do we have any questions or do you have any comments as of right now that you would like to cover, other than the one from Master Sharara?
Yeah, no. Chauvelin says, made a comment also as you're talking about, those steps, the 3M, read a step, do a step. And then he says, "Hoo-yah, sir." So that's with, going through those cards and that whole process like you're talking about. You're absolutely right. Like when we hear it a lot in the military where adapt and overcome and being, what do we call it? Like Gumby flexible or being Gumby. So yeah.
There we go. All right. So we are down to our final, I'm going to give you 4 more. One of them is a little bit wild card for you, Rob. I don't know if we've kind of covered this, but what we're going to do first, what we do every week, is we're going to talk about a book. So your favorite leadership book, or the one that helped you the most with leadership, and why and kind of how that you would recommend to our readers or to our listeners.
The one that comes to mind to me the most, and it's again because now I'm a civilian, is a book by Justin Constantine. Justin is a former Marine and lawyer. He now advises corporate communities on military issues. But his book is called "My Battlefield, Your Office: Leadership Lessons Learned from the Front Lines." And this book, it told me how valuable my military experience it was. And it also tells people how to provide the proper mentorship and encouragement, and support, for your employees, especially if you're prior military. Leading people, as we know, is a skill that you could learn, but in fact, not many people are born leaders. Although your organization may be changing, this could be an opportunity, not a liability. But his book, it talks about being a leader in the front lines. It talks about the fact that if you're in the chow line, you're not the first one in line to eat. You're the last one. You wait till all your troops go through that line and get their chow before you even think about getting your chow. So so there's a lot of lessons in that book that he took with him from the military into the civilian community. And after reading it, it just further cemented that I did the same thing.
Oh, good one. So I had not heard of that one as of yet. I think that had the longest title of any book. With your title, I think that this is your forte, is finding the greatest or the most lengthy lines you can. My Battlefield, Your Office, Leading in the Front Lines. Was that the rest of it?
Yes, Leading in the Front Lines. I think I lost you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can still hear you. Can you still see me?
I can. You're loud and clear. You're right as rain, my friend.
DC1, you're not the only one with computer issues. Oh, there you go. Okay.
All right. So there we go. We're back. All right. Next one. Favorite leadership quote and why?
Again, it's from Justin's book. And the quote is, I got to read it because I'm like you, Master Chief. You mentioned it last time. Quotes are my forte to remember. Yeah. But bad, ineffective leadership looks at people solely as a resource to be used up rather than nurtured. And that means a lot to me only because, I was nurtured when I was growing up and I put it that way, growing up in the United States Navy, to be not just the best sailor I could be, but also to be the best person I could be. You use a laptop as a resource. You use books as resources. You don't use people as resources. And another quote that I like of it too is, leadership is not only having the proper knowledge of how to lead people, but the right attitude in doing it. So those 2 quotes, and it's from that book, it's from his Battlefield book, that it really resonates with me.
Oh, nice. Those are great quotes. I really like the one about the attitude, because that kind of goes back to what we've talked about in the last 2 interviews as well, is that positivity. If you don't have that right attitude as you would approach whether it's a mission or a subject or whatever the scenario is, if you go in with the wrong attitude, you probably already lost. You got to go in there with that positive thing that you're going to make a change, and it's going to be for the better.
And one thing that I've noticed from Master Chief's podcast and the Admirals podcast last week is it seems to be a lot of the same messaging. It's about the people. It's about the people that we lead. It's about the people that are coming behind us to lead. It's about the mission, but we can't complete the mission if we don't have the people.
100%. I could not have said it better myself. So, all right. So, the best advice that you have for any transitioning service members. Now, keep in mind that not everybody is in Massachusetts.
Right.
I will give the plug for Massachusetts. They have a great veterans program built into the laws in the state and kind of how everything works. But if you could say just an overarching, what you learned national-wise, what people should do is those transitioning, what would be the first thing they should do is the minute they have 214 in hand, what's the first thing they do?
Well, it has to be way before you get that 214 in hand. Deciding to leave the military might be as big a step as deciding to join. Most of us come in when we were young, naive, and mostly unprepared right here. So when we get out, we could be just as unprepared. At least most of us are. And it doesn't have to be that way. You have to begin the transition at a year prior. And I would say possibly even start at the second that you decide and make the final decision that you're going to get out. And there are a lot of factors that you have to consider. Are you ready for it? Will you be able to make a living? Is your spouse ready for it? Are your children ready? Are your children ready? Also to transition. Where will you go? Are you going to go to school right away or into the job market? So if you're going right into the job market, you have to consider other things. What do you want to do? Where are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? What training is involved? What education is involved? So do you have any contracts? In that industry. So almost from the moment you decide to get out, someone around you may also be telling you what you need to do to be successful to jump into civilian life. But stop and think for a second. Maybe someone that you need to talk to is someone who already made the jump, who may be better suited to help you prepare, for that jump. So I would say to anybody who's going to transition, you need to do it immediately when you decide. Don't wait for the TAP program. Don't wait for your DD-214 is in hand before you decide and prepare to go to your next steps in life. You have to do it immediately when you and your family decide to leave service.
Okay, no, that's great advice, and that's always what I've heard as well. If you're not doing it a year out, 2 years out, you're doing it too late. 2 years out more for retirement, but if a year out for those that are just getting out, you need to start preparing and taking those steps.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Master Chief, I've seen people do it. Remember, you have to translate your resume. You need to start making connections in the community you plan to live in. Start networking. You had one of your sailors actually apply and interview for a position here in my office, and he went quite far, by the way. He went quite far in the interview process. So even if you're still in service, don't wait to get into and get interviewed for a job. It's good practice, even if you don't get the position. It helps you out for your next interview. And if it's a position that you want, you tell them, look, I'm still active duty in the Navy, but I'll be my ETS is in the next 6 months or something like that. Work something out with that employer if you're the person that they want. But definitely work on it immediately when you decide that you are going to ETS.
All right. So I have one last thing for you, but I'm going to let you close with it. So we're going to turn it over to DC1. I saw some stuff popping up over here. I'm doing my best not to look at comments. So it's still in progress. What do we have over in the comments or questions section?
Yeah, and it's hard because you see it and you're like, your eyes go right to it. But Queen NC1 Franquez, she says, good afternoon. My question is, if someone filed a claim and received a rating 10 years ago and came back to active duty, would they have to file for a full claim once they get out and retire?
My answer to that is that you should put in a claim every couple of years because your rating may change. Your rating may go up. So if you left that came back in service and you come back out again, don't be shy. Go to the VA, refile the claim because you never know if you're going to get a higher rating. I'm actually in the process of refiling mine as well, in the hopes that my rating goes up a little.
So refile if something changes, or just refile every couple of years. Just as a standard practice.
Yes.
Oh, outstanding.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I. I would have taken what they gave me and left.
Well, I have one person who went from a 70% rating to 100% rating.
It's money.
Yeah.
It's money and services, that's for sure. All right. What else do we have, DC1?
Okay, I have a question here, and the question is, somebody is is in the mode where they have that year out where they have to determine whether or not they are going to stay in active duty, and not at that retirement age or years in yet, and they want to know how should they base their decision. And we talk about making the best decision. You know, every individual makes a decision for themselves and their family, but what kind of advice could you give somebody trying to make the determination whether they should stay in or get out to the civilian sector?
Well, I would say taking a lot of factors, both while in service and out service. One of the things is, have you really tapped into all the benefits that are given to you on active duty, and you could weigh those benefits that you have on active duty to the benefits you'll get as a veteran. So you could weigh those and see where you could get the most out of. Also, the community that you're going to live in. You know, when I retired back in 2008, I retired in the middle of the worst recession we've had since the Great Depression, and was not a good time. Although I was going to take a few months off anyway. But you know, how is the economy doing? You know, again, like I stated, is your family ready to for you to leave service, and where are you gonna move to? You're gonna go back home to where you grew up at, or are you gonna stay in the community that you're currently in? So you have to weigh those things. I think the biggest thing is weigh the advantages of staying in service to the advantages of being a veteran, and what you could get out of it. You know, and also when you if you do leave, also remember that you utilize your GI Bill, because the education is everything.
That's right. So the pros and cons. Yeah. NC1 also asked the advice that you give somebody to getting ready to get out and transition, I think. And I hope that answered your question, NC1. Give us a thumbs up and let us know if that did.
If not, you could contact me, and we could leave my information, and she could contact me and we could go over it.
Good stuff. I just have one from Brian Shovlin real quick. He says, "Sir, you're from New York City, but you live in Boston." I already know this answer. We're going to put you on spot on live, recorded for history. Aliens will be picking this up in a few years. There's no escape.
I can't hear you, Master Chief. I'm having. I can't hear you. What?
What? A Yankees or a Red Sox guy?
Mayor Walsh knows this. I'm a Yankee fan, but I do go to Fenway a lot, and we have a great partnership with the Red Sox Foundation. And with the Red Sox Foundation, we have the home base program, which is a great mental health program for our veterans, their families, and service members. As a matter of fact, it's free of charge. What they do is they use a holistic approach on service members and their families that are suffering from PTSD. But I am a Yankee fan. The only time I root for the Red Sox is when they're not playing the Yankees. I am a homer for the other teams. I am a Celtics fan, Patriots fan, Bruins fan. But you know, my allegiance since I was yay big has been with the Yankees, and it's still there. After 18 years being here in the city.
Everybody has their flaws. You can be a Yankees.
Well, you know, the Dolphins. Let's not talk about that team.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a better year.
I think so too.
Giovanni Salvador Gio wants to remind you he was the first one in Navy recruiting to actually meet you.
Yes. He went downstairs to give me the badge. Came downstairs.
Bring you in the building. So, all right, DC1. What else do we have, my friend?
All right, let's see here. NC1 says, "Go Yankees." We also. Ingrid Santos says, "Go Yankees," and you have a couple people here that says, "Go Yankees." Here, James says, "Go Yankees" or "Yankees all day." So you have a few fans there.
That's because they live in southern Connecticut, down in the Bridgeport area, and that's kind of northern New York. That's not.
Yankee fans, nonetheless.
I will root for the Red Sox every day, twice on Sundays over the Yankees.
I like it in that shape everybody has so far.
Maybe we'll take a trip down to the city one day and catch a Yankees-Orioles game and watch your Yankees get whooped up on.
The Orioles? Against the
Right.
Orioles? That hasn't happened in 10 years.
It happens. It happens. All right. So look, this has been a great interview. I appreciate all your insight. Rob Santiago, Commissioner for Veteran Services for the great city of Boston. This is a special weekend. And what I always tell everybody as we come up on Memorial Day is in a normal non-COVID year, we're going to have the picnics and we're going to have the barbecues and we're going to hang out with family and friends and we're going to go to the park. People are going to go to the beach. They're going to do great things. This year may be a little bit different. But what I ask even those times, I know we're going to have great times. Just take a few minutes to think about the people that paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country and laid down their lives to ensure that we have the freedoms that we have today. It doesn't need to be the whole day. You don't need to sit in solace and light the candles and do all that stuff. But we do need to continue to pass the knowledge to our children and to the younger generations of all those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice from the Revolutionary War up until yesterday and today. What are your words as the Commissioner for Veteran Services for the great city of Boston? What is your message for Memorial Day?
Thank you, Master Chief. And you are correct. With these trying times, because of this pandemic, we are unable to have our events throughout the city or throughout the Commonwealth or throughout the country that we normally have for Veterans Day in remembering and recognizing and reflecting on our fallen heroes. But it doesn't mean we can't do that. We don't have to be at an event with a whole bunch of people to reflect on our fallen service members. We got to always reflect on those who selflessly died for their country. When they fought, they came as victors. They came as liberators, but never as conquerors, but always in the name of freedom. They went to war willingly and knowingly full well that, they may never see their loved ones again. For those that lived and died in service to their country, a simple remembrance is really not enough. But, honoring their service and making a promise to teach and educate our fellow Americans of the sacrifices that were faced, not just by our veterans, but their families. We talked about families a lot today, in transition and everything else, but we also have to understand that when our heroes are side by side in harm's way, they're not alone. They have the support and love of their families with them as well. So I ask everybody to please, let's continue to tell these stories of their bravery, their courage, their valor, and their selfless commitment to duty. We need to keep these stories alive, and we need to show our gratitude to all who served our country, not just on Memorial Day, but every day.
Outstanding. Very well worded.
Yes.
Maybe you should be a politician, Rob.
No.
Hey, look, I appreciate you being here. I could not be more happy to have you on this broadcast, this little adventure that DC1 and I are taking into providing leadership and thought. You're always welcome. You're always welcome, not only in the NRD, but you're also always welcome in my home. I appreciate you very much. Real quick, last funny story is Rob and I were flying to two different places. And I think we met up, was it in New York City on the airplane or Charlotte or?
I think it was either Charlotte or Philadelphia. Yeah, we both had a layover. And it was funny because I took a shot of me being in the airport and he responded like, I'm flying today too. And that was pretty cool. It was really cool.
We had got off at two different planes coming from Boston at the gates right next to each other.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing. So we met up and we went and we hung out for probably a good hour and a half at the little the club there that they had for military and stuff. So it was good times, Rob. I always appreciate you. Love seeing you, hearing from you. Look forward to seeing you stopping by and giving Dan McElroy his coin.
Definitely. You'll make sure that Chief G comes down and gives me the pass again that day.
Exactly. So, Rob, I appreciate you. Everybody, this is Rob Santiago, the Commissioner for Veteran Services for the great city of Boston. Thank you, Rob, so much. Have a blessed day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Master Chief. You too, and you too, the DC1, and everyone out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, DC1, it's us.
Yeah, that was so cool. He is such a cool guy, isn't he?
He is phenomenal, and how much he has helped the Navy kind of become instilled in the great city of Boston and the surrounding areas by reaching out and doing things. Uh, it's not that he wants to promote Navy recruiting, although he does. The promotion for all veterans in this area and across the United States, he does a great job. A great human being. I couldn't be more proud to know him.
Yeah, I totally forgot about those coins because I have one of his coins, and I was surprised that one that he had coins and he was giving them away, and he was just such a really nice guy. When I met him that day at the flag raising in Boston, we did the Surge/Swarm. So it's very cool that you guys were able to still keep in contact and connect. And I think I'm a true believer in we meet people. And people are brought into our lives for a reason. We may not realize it at that time or that moment. It could be years later down the road. But it's so funny that you guys were not going to the same place, right? On the plane trip that you're talking about, you guys ran into each other at the airport.
It was absolutely insane. I was like, because every time I get on an airplane, I put that I'm in a tube of death because you have no control, right? And it's just this big long tube with two.
Yeah.
Hurtling air, and I think there's some wizardry in how an airplane flies, but it's just a tube of death. If one of the rockets go out, you're spiraling out of control. I think I don't know.
Rockets.
I've seen movies. The rocket goes out, it sends quickly into the earth, and it's I'm not scared of flying. I find it amusing. But yeah, so I always make a comment when I get to the next airport or whatnot. And we just happened to both comment. We opened our Facebooks and he was 10 feet away from me. It was the funniest thing I've ever, it was really good.
You said the military club. What are you talking about? Like the USO?
No. So I have the,
we were at the military club.
Hanging at Club Nitro up at Navy Training Center. No. So we were at, I can't advertise, but I will say we were one of the airline clubs that affords us free access.
Oh, okay.
So one of the clubs. It may have a nautical theme to it. I think that's probably as far as I could go. But it was good. We went in there. We had some, we had some food. I think he was going to DC for like some type of meeting or something. It was a pretty cool thing, but glad to spend a little bit of time with him as we were both transiting through the world, which has not happened in a while. So hopefully airplanes come back and we can start traveling again relatively quick. So you and I have been busy today.
Yes.
So we have a lot of names on my personal page that I was like reaching out to my friends on there and saying, hey, what are your ideas? Man, we had a bunch of them. Most interesting one was from the MCPON, Russ Smith.
Yeah.
He wants to see Rick West on here. I replied back, what about both of you? Like, I think it's a tandem thing. We get Russ and Rick, this is game over, right? I think
I think he's thinking about it because he didn't reply yet, so he's thinking about it.
It's deep thought. That's why he hasn't replied. Deep thought by Russ Smith. There you go. We'll see what happens. You never say never. So we really don't have much more to talk about today. Let me see. Not this hand. Wait, yes, this hand over here. Look up at the top corner. That corner right there. You had it the other way.
No, I can see you right here. I'm pointing at you.
Okay, look up. The other way. Do you see? No, not in your house. On the screen.
Oh, look up.
Do you see the pin?
Oh,
right there. Yes.
I see it. I like that.
Elefante. He sent me 3 proofs. I like the worn look. He made that this morning. So really, hats off to him. He's a strong contributor to our team as well, and very appreciative of him. So we're going to see some more cool graphics and stuff as this little thing we're doing continues to grow. So we had Master Chief Sharara, we had Admiral Velez, we had Rob Santiago this time. Next week,
Chief, no, it's not a drum. But
has rogered up. So if you didn't hear me, Command Master Chief Jeffrey Kirby, United States Naval Academy, and because it's going to be a panel, it's going to be the four of us. If they're in port, Command Master Chief Jay Bell, the USS O'Kane down in Hawaii. So he's going to have to get up awfully early. But I will say this as we announce these special guests, things happen. So these two are solid. They said they're on their game. Hopefully we can pull everything off. The USS O'Kane may have to get underway. Things may happen where people can't come on, but we always have backups to backups to backups. So we'll be great no matter what. Yes, Toby Ruiz. Toby, you were one of the names. You just threw his name up
a couple times. He was listed a couple times.
Yes, he was. So just because I didn't reach out today does not mean that we're not going to reach out in the future. We have a lot of great names with a lot of great leadership, but we also have a lot of great ideas that we kind of need to filter through, and it takes a little bit of time. We got to work with JAG on some issues. We got to work with the Navy's PAO on some issues. So as we get these things, we'll do our best to get everybody on as much as we can, because I think there's some great stories out there. Just listen to Rob Santiago, got out in 2008. He had some stories of his time in and kind of how it translated to the civilian sector. That's what this is about. How can we help you? How can we make things, how can we give you the knowledge to carry on your career? So that's what we're looking for. That's what we want to give back to you guys. But it's only as strong as y'all. That's it. So great comments today. I appreciate everybody putting stuff up there. But yeah, Kirby and Bell, that's next week.
That's right.
I have, look, I got confirmation for the week after that. The big one that I was talking about, I got confirmation he'll actually be June 5th. A little precursor guest on June 12th, special guest host. I've asked one person. That person may be in or out, depending upon some organizational requirements that person may or may not need to meet. But I have a backup to that person, because we have backups to backups. So I'm having surgery on June 8th. So I will be out that week, and depending upon some certain things, maybe a couple weeks. But nothing life-threatening. But if you want to shower me with presents, 495 Summer Street, Boston, Massachusetts. I'm kidding. Don't send me anything. I'll
send you prayers. There you go. You don't even have to wait for it in the mail. Got a whole bunch of them for you.
Good thoughts and prayers. It's all I need. It's nothing serious. It's nothing like heart and brain and all that stuff. But absolutely another great interview, DC1. I appreciate you coming in. We will.
Sorry, a little bit late.
Hey, if we get the McPon on here, you can't be late, homie.
I will not. I will be super duper 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 early.
We logged on at 1400, just sitting there staring at the screen.
I'll be logged on 5 minutes before.
just staring. All right, good stuff. So I appreciate everybody. This is a great show. Like, subscribe, share, please. If you're in a command outside of Navy recruiting, and your sailors haven't seen this, share it with them. Let people know what we're trying to do here. This is not about Navy recruiting. This is, again, I cannot say it enough. It's not about Navy recruiting. This is about leadership. This is about each and every one of us. With that being said, NC1, you have your sign off. Remember?
No, remind me. What was my sign off?
Thank everybody for joining us and taking time out of their day.
I'm going to get better at that. Yes, I do want to thank everybody for joining us. And please, just like Master Chief mentioned, we share all this information every Friday, same time on all the platforms. Please go and subscribe to our Leadership Within Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and click on the alerts so that way you don't miss any of these episodes. We'll be also broadcasting this information so that it'll set a reminder on LinkedIn as well. And if you know anybody that would be interested in just finding out about leadership within, hearing some great stories, advice, books you've never heard of, quotes you never heard of, just gaining a bunch of takeaways from this, please share this channel with everybody and anybody. So yes, again, I know that was long-winded. I just wanted to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you next Friday. We look forward to it. We hope that you have a safe Memorial weekend. Well, that's all I have.
And with that, we're out. Thank you all. Go Orioles.